And joining us on the program this morning is Ottawa's own Nick Scott, who's in studio with us today. And Nick's story appears in this new book. It's called Body by Design by Chris Gethin, and it's a very unique story. And we are extremely pleased that Nick has agreed to come in and share his story with us here on KOFO. For those who may not have heard it, and we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that he's been up to in the last year or so, and maybe some of the things coming up in the future. So, Nick, first of all, thank you for being here today. Appreciate you coming in.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Not a problem at all. I think most people probably know your story, but there may be a few out there who don't. So maybe kind of start there a little bit and tell us how you got where you are today.
Okay, basically, it was August of '98, and I was going from work to football practice. I was 16 at the time, and my left front tire blew out, and I rolled my vehicle. My left front tire blew out. I rolled my vehicle 5.5 times, and I was ejected from the driver's side window, and my own car hit me in the back in midair. And then basically the doctors diagnosed me as paraplegic, and they told me I would never walk again.
And this was here in Franklin County, was it not?
Yeah, I believe it's on 68. Yeah.
Okay. And the doctors said that you would never walk again. And this was in 98, you said?
Yeah.
98. And then so what happened? Take us from there a little bit. What happened after that?
Basically, they lifelined me to the KU Medical Center, and that's when the doctor basically walked in and told me my football days were over and I would never walk again. And then I was devastated, and I got severely depressed, and I asked the Lord, why me? Why did this happen to me? And I don't know, so many people, my family and friends, they just supported me so, amazingly that I wanted to get better for them. Mm-hmm. So I just focused on being the best that I could be and wanted to walk again. So I went through intensive rehab and eventually got to the point where I started to be able to move my legs again. And then one day in rehab, I just hit me. I never looked at myself, so I saw a mirror in the dresser next to me, and my weight went up to 300 pounds. And I was just fat. And then I grew a mini afro, and I had a spotted beard and these bottle cap glasses. And from there, I just swore to myself I would never look like that again. And that's the turning point.
And then you attended Ottawa University, did you not? And you had set yourself a little bit of a goal there by graduation time.
Yeah, back in my whole thing was I felt like I didn't have nothing after high school, so I focused on walking again and also being a powerlifting, which eventually I became a 2-time world powerlifting champion. Mm-hmm. But I graduated in May of 2005, and then eventually walked across the stage without foam crutches to get my diploma. So it was kind of like just showing the doctors,
take that. You guys don't always know everything you profess to know then, right? That's amazing. What an incredible story. And you talk about the transformation. Tell us a little bit about that transformation. And from what you and I were discussing just a little bit ago, it is certainly something that didn't happen overnight. It was a process, it sounds like.
No, yeah, and that's exactly it. It is a process because, even with me being the chair, what type of cardio do I do? I was literally lost because I was limited to so many exercises at the time because of my back was still healing, and I felt lost, and there was really nothing out there for me that I felt like. So eventually I just educated myself, and I did a lot of research, and I taught myself what I need to do, and I just altered the exercises to fit my needs, and I just did whatever it took to make it work. And it wasn't an overnight thing. It took me years to transform my body, but it's really about making a lifestyle. And the same thing with the steps that he talks about in the transformation in the Body by Design book. It's really about just making a lifestyle and keep self-motivated to actually achieve your results. You just got to stick with it.
Did you actually have some sort of help from people like Chris when you were going through this process, or did you just kind of stumble on this on your, work your way through this on your own by trial and error and find out what works and what didn't work and that kind of thing? Or how did you modify things to fit your situation?
Well, nobody guided me. It basically was, I felt like I had nothing going through after my accident. Mm-hmm. So I realized if I couldn't do anything, the one thing I could be was stronger than everybody. So I focused on just being able to bench press as much as I could. And then eventually going back to my first bench press competition after my accident. I went from barely lifting anything to, after like a year, to be able to push up at the competition at 350 pounds on the bench press. The school record was 275. So I broke their school record and just dominated everybody. So in my mind, it was like, this is the key. So that's what I focused on. And from that, I educated myself to like, what can focus on being able to bench more. And then I realized I needed to train my entire body. So then I got books and I just read a lot and I did research on the internet eventually when that came about and stuff like that. But eventually, just over the years of just educating myself on forms, technique, and diet, and realize there's, in the fitness industry, it's not about a magic pill or a magic supplement. It's about just making a lifestyle, because you really gotta do it day in and day out to make it kind of like I don't know, just it's like a lifestyle.
Right. Now, you've written your own book as well, have you not?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how that's been doing.
Well, I wrote that after my a publisher approached me after I graduated from OU, and he said, that he would publish and stuff. So I was like, wow. I was like, I'm not a good writer and stuff, and I was so paranoid because English was my worst thing. So I was like, what do I need to write about? And it's like, how long and this and that. And he's like, just write. He's like, there would be editors to help, make sure your grammar's right and stuff like that. So I took a year out of my life and I wrote my book. And eventually, after that, he backed out on me.
Oh my!
Yeah. So basically, he told me that he had his wife edit the book, and that just paranoid me more. And then eventually he said the book's good enough as is, we'll just make it an audio thing. So that just made me furious, because it took all this time, so I didn't do nothing with it. So eventually, the spring of 2009, I was like, I want my book to be finished. So I basically Googled stuff on the internet, and I found like a company to help self-edit my book, just to rephrase like the grammar to make sure the colons is there,
sure,
so I don't sound stupid in the book. But then I just had it self-published and did it my own, and that's basically it.
What's the response been on it?
Oh, everybody's amazed with it, because it's really about, I talked really about in depth about my ex and the personal stuff, and it was it's just the things that you really don't know about until you go through that situation. And when I was writing it, I really focused on thinking about the families and the ones who are actually going through the same situations. So if they're really struggling, that way they felt like when they're reading this, that there's somebody else out there that they can have guidance for.
Right. How many copies of the book have you sold? Do you have any idea at all on that?
Oh, geez, probably about 600-700.
Wow, that's great. Now, tell me a little bit